If you're a health or a life coach who's feeling overwhelmed around the whole topic of AI and how it is being used in the coaching industry, then stay tuned. In today's episode of the Wholehearted Business Show, we're going to talk about how you can navigate the challenges and make the most of the opportunities with AI so that you can grow your coaching business. Let's dive in. Hi there, welcome to the Wholehearted Business Show. I'm Laura. I help heart-centered and highly sensitive health and life coaches get more clients, grow their businesses and live their best lives while they do it. And today on the show, we're talking all about AI and having just a really big discussion about the ways in which AI is impacting the coaching industry, the challenges that come with that, but also the opportunities, because ultimately, whatever your stance is on AI, and I'm going to talk a little bit about what my kind of opinion is on all of this if you're interested, AI is not going anywhere. It is here to stay. It is part of our lives now. It's part of our businesses. It's part of the, landscape in which we're all operating our businesses in. And there's lots of things that we need to understand, do differently, change our attitude towards all that kind of stuff that is going to help us grow, thrive in amazing coaching businesses. So today's episode of the show is going to be a big discussion on that. Now, I will say, my personal viewpoint on AI is kind of like, if it was going to be a relationship status, it's complicated, because I have real ethical issues with AI in terms of the fact that it is essentially stealing people's work and ideas, all of our stuff that we've created up until now, and it is reusing it for profit of billionaires. I think this week, as I record this show, Elon Musk is no longer the richest man in the world. Some other white dude is, who's like the CEO of some AI company. And, we know that there's also an issue environmentally with AI as well, about the data centers that it requires to be used. And I also just think that there is something inherently that just intuitively does not sit quite right with me with it. So there's all of that kind of complicated feelings. And then on the flip side, I also can see how it could be an amazing tool, and how it is an amazing tool, and how it can really help us live our lives more the way that we want to live them. We can save time using AI, all of that kind of stuff. So it is complicated. My kind of whole viewpoint on it is complicated. And I'm going to talk at the end of the show about how I use AI in my coaching business, so that you can see some examples of how I try and use it in a aligned way, a way that feels good to me. So I'm going to explore that at the end. Before we dive into that, a quick reminder that Wholehearted Business, my 12-month group program, is opening for new enrollments this week. If you are a health or a life coach, particularly if you are highly sensitive and heart-centered, who wants to grow their coaching business, who wants to create the systems that support them to get clients in an aligned and authentic and sustainable way, then Wholehearted Business is the place for you. It is, like I say, obviously it's my program, so I am going to be like gushy about it. But honestly, it is just my favourite thing. I love that program. I love the people who come into it. I love the work that we do together. I love the results that the coaches get inside Wholehearted Business. If you want to grow your business in a really holistic way, if you want that support from me to help you do that, if you want a lovely group there as well that you can access for loads of support, then please do check it out. We're opening on Thursday, so watch this space. So AI, let's talk about some of the challenges that AI is presenting for us as coaches. The first challenge is that more and more people are starting to use AI as replacements for coaches and therapists. Now, I'm sure a lot of you guys will have seen the stories about, men running away with, and I can't help but laugh, I swear to God. These men who have got relationships with AI girlfriends and all this kind of stuff. But people are, and in all seriousness, people are using AI as replacement coaches and therapists. It is something that we have to be aware of in the coaching industry, that if people feel that they are getting the same or better results with AI for a much lower cost than working with a coach, then that is a challenge that we are going to have to face as a coaching industry, that we're going to have to really, really look at. Now, I've got a whole opinion on this I'm going to come on to when we look at the opportunities. But ultimately, that is a challenge that we're going to have to negotiate. And it means that we are going to have to approach things differently in the way that we sell our coaching services. So we're going to come on to that in a second when we look at opportunities, but that is a massive challenge. Some people are using it. I could go on and on about why that's not necessarily a good idea, which we'll explore. But ultimately, that is something that's happening that we need to think about as we are coaches, and that people can use different AI tools to replicate this. So that's a massive challenge that we need to overcome in the coaching industry. Another challenge is that AI is making it very, very easy for people to create content en masse, like loads and loads and loads and loads of content. And what that is doing is it's making it difficult to be seen in amongst all of that stuff. That it's just noisier. You know, last week on the show, I talked about this exact thing, how to stand out in a noisy coaching industry. But the reason why it's noisy is mostly because there's a sheer overwhelm of content that now can be created very, very quickly. The labour that goes into creating content is way, way smaller than it has been. And that simply means that there's a lot more information, a lot more content. At the moment, one of the things that pops into my mind around this is on Pinterest. And I love Pinterest. It is literally like, it is one of the places that I hang out just as me without my business hat on. I absolutely love Pinterest. But when I searched for decor ideas for my little girl's bedroom, all I saw was literal AI shite. Like, honestly, all of the images were just AI and it was just like utterly horrible. Like, it was really awful. Like, as a user, that experience was horrible, and I was very, very quickly to like click all the buttons like, please stop me seeing this on Pinterest. Like, Pinterest is my happy place and there's all this stuff. But the challenges of that is, if you look at that particular example, is that if you were, and obviously this is not relating to the coaching industry per se, but if you were someone who was maybe a decorating blogger who was putting your images on there of your actual decorated bedrooms, and the top of the search is all of this AI crap, then it's much, much harder to get up to the top. So that's one challenge, one example of a potential challenge that AI presents, is just the sheer volume of stuff. Certainly images and text, and we'll come on to why that's important in a second, that is being created through AI. So that's a real challenge that we need to, deal with as well. It's also another tech thing that we have to learn. Now, if you are a newer coach, or anyone at any point in your coaching business, you will know that it is becoming more and more important to have an understanding, at least a certain level of competence with technology, with online resources, online tools, online systems. Like, it is becoming more and more important that you have that ability to use these tools. AI is simply another tool that we're going to have to learn. And again, that's another thing that can add to the overwhelm. It's another thing that can make it more difficult. I would also say it's potentially another tool that we can use to help us learn more quickly, but we'll come back to that in a sec. So it is another tool that we have to learn because, and again, I will say more on this, if you do not use it properly, it could do a lot more damage than if you are just using it without any skill. And that's another important thing with AI. So another challenge is that it is another tool to have to learn how to use in amongst all of the other tech tools that you are probably going to have to figure out to be able to run a successful coaching business these days. So it's another thing to learn. Another challenge is that the people who are using AI well, the coaches out there who are using it well, are raising the bar for everybody else in terms of what you need to do to have a successful coaching business. The people who are using AI well as a tool in lots of different ways in their business, they are getting more done. They are the ones who are creating more content. They are the ones who are being more visible. They are the ones who are doing all of these things. So it kind of raises the bar for everybody else. We kind of need to step up. And this is kind of where it gets really, really difficult. And this is where some of the ethical stuff kind of grates on me a little bit, is that we almost feel like we have to use AI to simply keep up. And, again, that is a really, really challenging thing. I liken it a little bit to social media. And, a good reminder is that you can grow a coaching business without social media. You can grow a coaching business without AI, but it's going to look different. So it's understanding the pros and cons of that and what that means for you and your individual business. But it is raising the bar, and we have to be aware that that is another challenge that we are going to face in our coaching businesses as a result of AI. So quite a few challenges there, whether it's people using AI as a coach instead of an actual human, whether it's people, creating masses and masses of content, so it's much noisier online space, whether it's the tech thing and just having to learn this tool, or people raising the bar. I mean, I could go on. There's lots and lots and lots more challenges when it comes to AI. And again, how it's going to impact society as a whole is a really, really big question, and how this technology is going to change our lives like it is, over the next few years. I think it's going to be really, really interesting. But I also do think that there's opportunities, and I'm not one for kind of getting bogged down and thinking, oh, everything's terrible, everything's going to fall apart, all of the industry's going to, come to pieces, blah, blah, blah. I'm not one to think about that. I don't think that's very helpful for anybody. And there are opportunities, I'm not pulling these out of thin air. There are some real great opportunities that come with AI, the AI age, as we are currently in it in 2025 for people running coaching businesses. First of all, AI is never going to replicate real, true human connection. It is not going to be possible to do that. And I think for anyone who has any kind of I was going to say, I think there's something, maybe it's because I'm quite spiritual and a bit woo, it is just never going to replicate that human connection. We have to remember that as human beings, we are still wired and set up as the human beings that we were 1,000 years ago. Our bodies, our nervous systems, our energy is still wired for social connection, that for those social relationships, for nature, for being out in the sun and in the water and all of that kind of stuff. And I'm a big believer that the more technical we get, the more there's going to be a pullback to that. So I do think that there's an opportunity there to remind people that that cannot be replicated with AI. The physical stuff, the co-regulation that we get when we are working with another human who has their own set of lived experience, who has their own wisdom, because again, what we have a lot of right now with AI is we have a lot of information, but we don't have so much wisdom. And wisdom is something that comes from living it and being in it and having to navigate challenges and having to go through things that are hard. AI does not have that. It has the record of people's experiences, but it can't replicate the lived experience of actual human beings. So I think there's a real opportunity there to highlight for people and to remind yourself as well that coaching is one of the highest ways that we can support one another to reach our goals, to become our whole authentic selves, all of that kind of stuff. AI's got its place, but it's never going to replicate that. For some people, they might think that it can. And I think what's probably going to happen is that the people who think that AI can do that for them are going to be those people, and those are not going to be your ideal clients as a coach. But the people who recognise that they do need human connection, that they do need human wisdom, they're going to be the people who are going to be our coaching clients in the future and who are going to recognise that. So I think our role now as coaches or mentors or whoever is going to be, how can we remind people and how can we emphasise the benefits of actual human-to-human connection, and how can we really double down on that, because that is what is going to make our work really special. I think there's something really worrying about AI and the way that it generally will it basically affirms people. Even if you ask it not to, I think generally speaking, it is it's a tool that is going to just reaffirm you, especially people who don't know how to use it properly. So it tends to just reaffirm people, and that's not going to challenge you or expand your human experience. And I think there's a risk of people just getting caught in a bubble and not actually growing, really, because all they're getting back is just this kind of all of this validation. So lots and lots of things that you can explore around that topic, but ultimately I think there's a real opportunity for coaches, because the work that we do is around that human connection and around that lived experience and that wisdom and helping people do that work. So big opportunity there. Another opportunity is remembering that AI, as it is right now, is not generating brand new ideas. Now, I really hope that it never gets to the point where it is a sentient thing, because we don't want to get into all of that Terminator shit. No, thank you very much. But at the moment, AI is basically, it's called artificial intelligence. It gives the impression of intelligence. It is not an intelligent, sentient thing yet. And I really hope it never becomes that. But anyway, right now it's a mass learning model. It's a mass learning model on the scale of which we've never ever seen in humanity before. But it is not, it's taken information from what already exists. It's not yet at the point where it is creating new things. So innovation, doing things differently, coming up with your own ideas, your own concepts, again, based in your own lived experience, that's really exciting, because that is something that AI at the moment cannot replicate or replace. So remembering and tuning into, what can I do that is more innovative, different, experimental, be your wild human self. I think this is my kind of theme right now, is Be your most wild, authentic, crazy human self, because you can't be anything less than that right now. That is that's one of the opportunities, is that, for people who are willing to be the most human version of themselves. And that doesn't have to mean that you're really vulnerable or anything like that. There's a great opportunity there, because again, if people are using AI, there's a lot of people who are using AI en masse and are not using it well. Like the amount of stuff that I've seen online that is just utter shite, because it's just been generated by AI, and someone thinks that because ChatGPT has created it, that it's good, and it's not, which we come on to with the skill set stuff. But there's such an opportunity there, I think, with that side of things, because at the moment people are using AI without very much skill. And on that same train of thought, we also have the opportunity around creating content that is going to actually create connection. What we are seeing, again, is that written content and visual images are very, very easy to create with AI. Yes, you can create video as well. Yes, you can create audio with AI, but generally speaking, they are not as prevalent in the industry yet, or like I say, hopefully ever. But right now we have an opportunity to cut through that with our content creation as coaches for our marketing, with video and audio like this. So if you're watching or listening to this is the exact kind of content that I would be suggesting that people create in their coaching business, because it's very, very difficult to replicate this. Again, there are some tools where you can do videos and you can have a little AI avatar and all of that kind of stuff. But genuinely, I just don't think that is going to create the same kind of connection. So creating content that is audio and video based, it doesn't have to mean that your whole thing is audio and video based. But, I teach in the searchable show method, which you do get inside Wholehearted Business. So you do get that inside Wholehearted Business if you join. But the searchable show method that I created as well teaches you the whole process of creating content in this way. So do go and check that out if that is something that you want to explore, because I honestly think that this is the kind of content that is the opportunity in amongst all of the AI slop, is that video and audio creates connection, can't be easily replicated through AI, can communicate all of your nuanced ideas and all of your lived experience, all of your wisdom, all of that kind of stuff. And at the end of the day, if someone can get the same thing from you through ChatGPT, why are they going to bother working with you? You need to show up and show that you are offering something that cannot be offered. We need to be able to show that we can do that. And I think one of the great ways we can do that is through these kind of videos and audios. So there's a big opportunity there. And then another big opportunity, and again, there's probably way more opportunities I could list out. Another big opportunity is that AI can save us a lot of time. So if you are wanting to run a business that gives you freedom, that gives you the lifestyle that you want, where you're not working loads of hours, you're still making a really, really great income, doing work that you love, which I think is most of us who watches this show and who listens to this show. That's certainly one of my big things is, I don't want to be working all the time. I want to actually go out and live my life. I want to go to the beach and swim in the sea and go to the gym and do yoga and, see my friends and do all of those lovely things in amongst work. I don't want to be working more than 20-25 hours a week. AI is going to mean that we can do a lot more in a lot less time. So it is a fantastic tool. There is an opportunity there if you choose to learn how to use it well. Now, this is the key thing. Using AI without any of your own skill is honestly a recipe for disaster. Your copy is going to be shite. Your content is going to be crap. Honestly, it is really, really difficult to get good quality out of AI without you actually applying skill. So the kind of myth is that people think they can just go and use ChatGPT and that'll write the copy for the website and that'll do that and they can create content with it and stuff. And it will, but without you operating the system, operating the AI and telling it what it is you need in detail, you're going to just not get the right result out of it. So there's a great opportunity for using it to save time. Great opportunity for using it to support your business growth and things like that. But you have to have the skill to be able to use the tool. It is another tool. It's another tool in your toolkit, but you have to have the skill to be able to use it. So there we go. We've explored just a few of the challenges and just a few of the opportunities that come with AI. And I want to talk a little bit about how I use it in my business. And again, having, a complicated relationship with the whole concept of AI, but the ways in which I'm choosing to use it in my business. And in all honesty, I haven't used it very much up until probably the last couple of months, because like I say, there's something that just feels, kind of mismatched a little bit. But I am aware that it is a great tool for saving time, and it is a tool that is there for us to use. And because it's not going to go anywhere, we might as well make use of this tool. So the ways in which I use it in my business is, and I've kind of got some guidelines for myself. First things first, I do not use it to give me like actual finished content or finished ideas that are not my own. So I will always give it me first. That's always kind of like my rule, is I give it me and then let it do its thing. So I'm not asking it, can you write me a blog post on X, Y, and Z? Can you write me notes on X, Y, and Z for these videos? I am writing the notes for these videos. I am like, it is coming from me and my brain and my lived experience and all of my thoughts. Like that is always the first starting point, is me and my my labour, my ideas, like all of that kind of stuff. I always start there first. That is always the starting point. I am using AI as a tool to take my ideas, my content, my stuff, and then do things with it. That's kind of like my kind of rule of thumb. So at the moment, I'm using it kind of like another member of my team, if you like. So for example, I recently used it to kind of help me go through some different ideas around the Spark event that I'm running this week. So I'm running Spark. Unfortunately, if you're watching this, it's probably too late to join it because we started on Monday the 15th of September. But I knew that I had an idea, and it kind of just was like a bit of like a sparring partner. So that was really quite helpful to have it there. And what actually ended up happening was that I was like, yeah, I don't like this idea that you've just given us. This is rubbish. Actually, this is not right. But through that process of going backwards and forwards with it, it really helped me refine the idea and what I wanted to do. So that was really, really useful to go through that process. And then the other way that I tend to use it is around the creation of this show. So the way that I do this show right now is I record the video audio, and then I use the transcript. So again, it's all of my words, all of my ideas. I use the transcript and give that to ChatGPT to tidy that up into a blog post. Then I will go over the entire blog post and make sure it sounds like me, because as good as AI can be when it's used with skill, it never quite sounds like me. I think I probably sound slightly unhinged sometimes, and I don't want to lose that. So I try and make sure that it sounds like me. So we'll go through that. And I will also ask it to create some bullet points of the key learnings, from this show, but phrased in a certain way. I've got like a very specific language that I ask it to use. I will ask it to write descriptions. I will ask it to do meta descriptions for SEO. Like where I really like AI is where it can really help with some of these little optimizations that up until now I've just kind of not had the bandwidth to bother with, like making sure I've got a really good meta description for the SEO for my blog post, making sure that I've got this and this. Like that really helps me to actually do more of the optimization stuff. So I love it as a tool for that. If you've got any really like simple policies, things like that you want some support to write, it's great for things like that. So it's kind of like I just see it as like a member of the team, but it is a tool. And what I don't use it for is I don't use it to write my emails to my list. I feel like putting a little disclaimer and saying, this is actually me, I've written all of this, and hopefully it's really obvious. And again, I think another opportunity is like, write like yourself as much as possible, because it will not sound like AI if you write it in your own, in your own crazy way. So all of my emails are always me. If I get stuck with an idea, like sometimes it's really good for just giving you ideas. So, you can use it in all sorts of different ways around, generating content ideas. Can you refine this so that it's more phrased better for SEO? Those kind of tools, that's the kind of things that I work with ChatGPT on. And so far, I've only really used ChatGPT. I know there's lots of other AI tools that you can use that can be better than chat, but I tend to use it in that way. And that right now for me is a good use of it. It really helps me to just save a bit of time without taking away like the essence of the business, which is me. And I think that's the key thing. I think when AI takes away the essence of your business, then I honestly think that you will get into trouble. Maybe in the short term, that might not be a problem, but I think the longer things go on for, I do think that people will get into it, it will stop working, because I think people are getting more sensitive to it. Like I literally have like a visceral reaction now if I can see a piece of content that someone has clearly written with ChatGPT, and there's very, very clear tells. That's another thing that I would recommend for anyone as well, is the very clear tells with AI is there's a certain kind of like way that they phrase things. There's a certain kind of like patterning in the language and the way that it actually says things that is like a dead giveaway. There's also the M dashes, like, oh my God, the M dashes drive me up the wall. Those long dashes, like I will often use, and it might actually be not the right grammar and maybe I should be using M dashes, but I use like dashes quite a lot in the way that I write things down because it's how my brain works. But the long M dashes are a dead giveaway that's something that you've written as AI. Ask it to remove the M dashes. It doesn't always do that. Sometimes it still includes them. But for the love of God, take out the goddamn M dashes because it's a dead giveaway. Really is. So there's a couple of things like that. And if I say those things, it's like, oh, I can tell this has been written by AI. And like, I kind of disregard it. So just be aware that I think people are going to become more sensitive to that. And, you know, again, like depending on where you sit in terms of how you personally feel about AI, you know, I just think people are going to start to recognise it more and turn off from it a little bit. So it's going to be interesting to see how it develops over time. And like I say, you know, inside Wholehearted Business, we cover all of the kind of things that I've talked about in this because, again, Wholehearted Business is really a reflection of the way that I do business, the way that I show up in business, my ethos that underpins how we run coaching businesses, which is about sustainability. It is about showing up as yourself and the trust that you create when you do show up as you and people have that relationship with you. Because like I say, if you are not offering people something that they feel that they can only get from you, then the likelihood is that more and more people are going to turn to other sources, to AI, to custom GPTs, all that kind of stuff. We need to be doing that. And that's something that we cover inside Wholehearted Business in various different ways. So do go and check out the program. Like I say, I'll be talking a bit more about it next week, but it is a fantastic program for any coach who wants to grow their coaching business in a way that is sustainable, aligned, fun, holistic, all of that jazz. Please come and check it out. The link is in the description. But as always, I'd love to know what your opinion is on this. I think this is a really interesting topic, and you know, I'd really, really enjoy your feedback and I'd really enjoy your thoughts. Like, how do you feel about AI ethically? How are you using it in your coaching business? What kind of results are you getting from using it? How do you find that it works as a tool for you? Like, what kind of tasks are you using with it? I'd love to know all of this. Have you found that it's kind of like caused any issues for you? Please let me know in the comments if you're watching on YouTube. Just pop me a comment. If you are listening on the podcast, I'd love you to send me a DM on Instagram. I'm at Wholeheartedly Laura. Please pop me a DM and let me know what your thoughts are on this as well. Or simply email me, Laura at Wholeheartedly Laura as well. Like I say, I'd really love to know like what your thoughts are on this whole thing because it's really, really interesting to me. And I think it's going to be very interesting to see how things progress over the next few years too. Okay guys, that's it for now. I hope you have a wonderful week and I will see you very soon. Take care. Bye.